Hey everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my booktube channel. This video is going to be my weekly wrap-up in reading for the week of August 5th through August 11th. This week I read 3 books and all of them were for the Myth Take Readathon. The first book that I read was Sisters of the Winter Wood by Rena Rosner. This was a retelling of Jewish and Eastern European / Russian folklore and mythology, and this was one of the books that I had really been hoping was going to be a 5-star read for me, but it was ultimately only a 3. And I think that was just because I thought that the quality of the writing was excellent, but the plotting didn't really hold up as much as I had hoped. It's the story of these 2 sisters, Liba and Laya, that have a very deep dark family secret that has to come out rather quickly in the first couple of chapters of the book. Their mother and father tell them what the family secret is and then promptly leave and don't really come back until the end of the book. So the girls not only are having to deal with being home alone for the first time ever in sort of a dangerous place where there are pogroms against Jewish people and wild animals wandering onto farms and killing people and stuff like that, but they're also alone for the first time with this secret knowledge, and they have various thoughts about how it's going to affect themselves and their relationship with each other. This book didn't actually take me that long to read because parts of it are told in, one of the point of views is told in prose and the other one is told in verse, so there was a lot of white space on some of those pages. And I think that maybe that kind of contributed to some of the unevenness of the book because I felt like the sister Liba, whose point of view was told via prose, we got a lot more character development from her. Whereas Laya, who is the point of view told only in verse, I felt that I didn't really get too much of a sense of who she was, and that kind of made the plotting difficult because Liba is such a strong character with a really unique set of problems and an interesting voice, and I just didn't get that from the other sister. So like I said, ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Then I finished reading Gods of Jade and Shadow, which is a new release by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is the story of Cassiopeia, who is a girl living in Mexico in the 1920s, the Jazz Age, and she lives with her, crotchety older relatives and people that are just mean to her in a small town, and she longs for adventure in the great wide somewhere, like another heroine we all know and love. And she finds her freedom in the form of opening a box that has imprisoned Huncame, who is one of the Mayan gods of the underworld, Xibalba. This book was incredible. It definitely made me want to read more of the Mayan mythology that it was based off of. I thought that the only slight criticism that I had to it was that Cassiopeia had kind of a really strong voice at the beginning of the book, and then towards the end, I feel like she kind of faded into the background while some of the stories of the mythology took over, and I would have liked to see a little bit more from that character. But the world building for this book was fantastic. I thought that the writing was great. The little bit of chemistry between the main character and our god of death was, I think, just the right amount. And I think that it really succeeded as a mythology retelling because it made me not only learn about a mythology of the world that I didn't know much about, but also made me want to go read more Mayan mythology so I can continue to learn. So I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. And then the final book that I read, last for the Myth Take Readathon here, was The Hand, the Eye, and the Heart by Zoe Marriott, and I did not like this book. I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. This is a retelling of the Chinese legend of Fa Mulan, and our main character is named Jilan, or Ji, as they go by. This is supposed to be a retelling of Mulan in which the main character is non-binary, and we're going to come back to that because while Ji talks about it a little bit in the book, their whole sort of identity and pronouns and stuff like that is never really discussed very much outside of a couple of sentences here and there. So while it's true that Ji may actually be a non-binary character, I don't know if I would go so far as to say that this is the best book out there with a non-binary main character that you can read. So again, pretty straightforward retelling of the Mulan legend. Ji's father is too old to go fight for the emperor, so Ji takes his place. They disguise themselves in like male soldier's uniform and stuff like that and go try and fight in the war. And along the way, they befriend another sort of like hapless young recruit who has a secret of their own. And the thing that I disliked about this book was that it kind of broke that old adage of show, don't tell. This book just tells you what's happening. It just very much announces that things are happening. It doesn't allow things to happen organically in the way that you enjoy when reading a story. It's just sort of like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And oh, by the way, this person was actually a secret assassin all along. And you're like, what? That wasn't really like set up or plotted at all well. And like I said, I don't think I would go so far as to say this is good non-binary rep. It wasn't terrible in the sense that it's not like offensive, but it also very much feels like maybe it was just tacked on. This book also does include some trigger warnings for mentions of suicide. There is a rape scene, and there is persistent dead naming and misgendering throughout the book, as well as some like descriptions of unsafe chest binding practices. If you're going to bind your chest, don't use bandages, please. For the love of everything, that's not going to be good for you. The author even puts that at the beginning of the book. She says, I was trying to be historically accurate, but please don't do this. So yeah, like I said, I ended up giving that book 2 out of 5 stars. I don't think it's something that I would necessarily recommend or that I'll be returning to anytime soon. So that is going to do it for this week's reading wrap-up. Have any of you read any of these books? I know that Gods of Jade and Shadow is making its way around the YouTube circuit, and a few people that are doing the Myth Take Readathon have also read it, along with the other books that I have read. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and help me on my quest to 300 subscribers by the end of this year. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.